700 students tricked by an immigration scam are being sent back to India.
Indian people are racist.
I'm sick and tired. All the people today are sick and tired. It's not politically correct to say it, but if you want to get away with murder, you kill an Indian because we don't get justice.
I'm being aggressive to you because too many Indians are in Canada, and I want you to go back. Go back.
But I'm Canadian.
Back to India.
Bro, there's a lot of people applying, but Indians are hiring Indians.
That is why we have to send all of you back to India.
Have you noticed that there's more hate towards Indians online now rather than a few years ago?
More and more Canadians are hating Indian immigrants in Canada, so we tried to find out the reason behind all this. But in the process,
I can't wait till all those Indians go back home, because then all you Canadians will actually have no one left to blame. Because then you'll realize that all these things that you're actually blaming these students for, lack of housing, lack of jobs, cost of living, inflation, you having no sex life, actually wasn't their fault at all.
Too late. We have already taken over. Look around, man. We are all here only. India is empty. We are all in Canada.
Some Indians claimed that they were being judged by their race and not their character, and therefore they vowed not to change a thing, and also vowed that they were not leaving anytime soon, for they are here to stay. But as all this goes on, the Canadian government is silent. Is the government allowing all this to happen on purpose, or is it just a lack of courage to deal with sensitive cultural issues head-on? Or even worse, are Canadians just using Indians as an excuse for their systems which are failing them? Because some of these problems like the job market stress and the housing crisis, which are being blamed on the Indian immigrants, existed way before the immigration wave. In this video, we will dig deep and find out all these. Now, before we get any further, I would like to clear something up. Canadians are not saying that all Indians are bad, but the truth is certain behaviors and trends within segments of the Indian community here in Canada have created frustration and stereotypes. And by the way, stereotypes don't just appear out of thin air. They're usually based on repeated experiences people see on the ground. And therefore, what Indians are being accused of today is just a result of pattern recognition. Some patterns have been recognized to be recurring amongst the Indian community. And these patterns have recurred to the extent that it has led to Indian fatigue, whereby Canadians are tired and exhausted of these so-called Indian behaviors, which include lack of public cleanliness and respect for public spaces.
This is disgusting. Disgusting.
The most infamous incident was the beach bathroom fiasco. Back in July 2024, at Wasaga Beach in Ontario, people discovered some Indian immigrant families were literally using the beach as their personal toilet. They even set up tents as makeshift bathrooms. The beautiful beach turned into a stinking mess, and tourists started avoiding the place like the plague.
For an argument or for a conversation, for boneless and tenders, if the chicken is white, the chicken is cooked. But for the classics, near to the bone will always be picked. That's
one of the top frustrations that Canadians do express is around how some Indian neighborhoods look. Trash on the streets, overcrowded housing, and lack of maintenance have created a visible image problem. Canada is not for being clean and orderly, and when newcomers don't maintain the same standard, it sparks tension with locals.
You're fucking behind, you bloody bastard bitch, fuck you, bloody fucking mother bloody.
We've got problems here. Highway 427 southbound, just south of Rexdale or Derry Road, north of Highway 409. We have a single vehicle, straight truck that rolled over, loaded with aluminum or steel.
Cases of poor driving, aggression, and repeated petty accidents on the road. Canadians often complain about the way some Indian immigrants drive, aggressive, chaotic, or not following the rules of the road. Whether it's speeding, not signaling, or causing accidents, these behaviors feed into the stereotypes that Indian drivers are unsafe. Again, not all, but enough to create a trend that people notice. There's also some lack of morality and scandals. Of course, even Canadians have scandals, but somehow those scandals that make headlines are somehow associated with Indians.
There's an update to the story of the Edmonton man who's been accused of luring over 100 girls on social media. Himesh Ratnaik lured girls aged 11 to 13 years old using social media platforms such as Snapchat, and now he's been denied bail and is...
There have been disturbing cases in the news of individuals from the Indian community being caught in immoral behavior, including cases of exploitation and even incidents involving minors.
Can you just tell me why you were having the conversation with that child?
I am from India, brother. I don't know about the India rules.
No, you do know.
These cases naturally spark outrage and unfortunately get applied broadly, fueling the narrative that there are cultural gaps in morality. Aside from that, there is also criminal cases and cultural mistrust. That will not go without me saying that most of the online scammers we are dealing with today are Indians. Not all Indians in Canada are scammers, but it's always an Indian who's trying to scam somebody.
When the Indians first came to Canada, Indian parents wanted their kids to acclimate. They would take them to karate practice and take them to Tim Hortons and take them to hockey practice. Now, because the Indian population is so much bigger, they don't want to acclimate as much. But there was so much unity and respect back then. A lot of the whites helped the Indians rise.
The number of Indian immigrants in Canada is growing at a very rapid rate, and with their growing numbers, Indian immigrants now have significant representation in Canadian politics. That in itself isn't bad. Democracy is about representation, but Canadians worry that politicians now avoid criticizing or holding the community accountable simply because they want to secure votes. This makes many feel like the government is turning a blind eye to the very issues Canadians are raising. Canadians have been complaining that Indian employers are only employing Indian employees and Indian property owners are only leasing their property to their fellow Indians. Well, of course, they own the property and they have the freedom to lease it to whoever they wish. But again, this is Canada and not India. When asked, some Indians in their defense claim that the Indian community is tightly knit. But while on one hand family support is admirable, on the other it creates situations where jobs, house, and resources circulate only within the community. From employers hiring exclusively then, to families packing into houses, to businesses leasing only to each. This creates risk because outsiders feel locked out, and in this case, Canadians are the outside. Imagine being an outsider in your own country. So here's the bigger question. Is the government allowing all this to happen on purpose? Is it about to do so? Or is it just that they don't have the courage to deal with cultural issues head? Well, whatever the reason, one thing is clear. The frustration is real, and unless it's addressed honestly, the divide will only grow. From a personal level, it feels like a mix of everything. On one hand, immigration is a lifeline for it fills jobs, grows the economy, and keeps the population right. Politicians know, and they also know that the large immigrant groups like the Indian community are powerful voting blocs. They avoid rocking the boat. On the other hand, there's clearly a lack of courage. Nobody in power wants to be labeled anti-immigrant or racist, so the safer option is to stay silent. The problem just gets swept under the rug, even when everyday Canadians are pointing them out.
I can't wait till all those Indians go back home, because then all you Canadians will actually have no one left to blame. Because then you'll realize that all these things that you're actually blaming these students for, lack of housing, lack of jobs, cost of living, inflation, you having no sex life, actually wasn't their fault at all. It actually was the fault of a federal government who literally continues to favor billionaire corporations and doesn't make them pay their fair share. It actually was the fault of people like Doe Ford bleeding out the healthcare system, continuing to prop up their developer buddies without building affordable housing, of government programs that colleges and governments and shady recruiters all took advantage of, and that the vast majority of these kids were just hard-working students who were actually propping up our economy, working their asses off, and getting treated like absolute shit in some of the most disgusting racism I have ever seen, stoked by far-right online hate groups, and that this country is actually going to be worse off for the way we have treated them and for making this place so inhospitable for so many of them.
But here's the tougher truth. Maybe Indians are also just being used as scapegoats because, let's be honest, the housing crisis, the healthcare backlog, the job market stress, these are problems that existed long before the immigration wave. Sometimes it feels easier for politicians and even ordinary people to pin it on immigrants rather than admitting that the system itself is failing. But anyway, those are just... Tell me what you think about this whole issue in the comment section and I'll be really glad to read your comments. If you found the video interesting, please give it a thumbs up and also consider supporting this channel by subscribing. That way, this kind of videos will be able to reach more and I will be motivated to make more videos like these. Otherwise, I hope to be seeing you in the next video.